maybe. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Realty Rundown. I am your host, Nic Wyse, fueled this morning by coffee, closings, and congressional updates. Today, we're going to cover some fairly breaking news. It's not as breaking as maybe when Nate and I first talked about it, because I was on vacation. So we had a couple weeks off of the Realty Rundown. We've been waiting to bring this to you. But today, we are going to pass the legislation that just passed, as everybody kind of knows of it, the big, beautiful bill, if you will. It's got some very real impacts on the real estate economy. Again, joining me today is my co-host, Nathan Schwartz. And Nathan, this one is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So this legislation touches everything from mortgage interest deductions to 1031 exchanges. There's a lot in here for homeowners, investors, agents, and anyone looking to build wealth through real estate.
Yeah. So kind of want to touch on first the top 5 real estate wins. I was talking to the National Association, and there's a lot of things that they feel are good coming out of this bill as far as for real estate agents and for real estate in general. So I wanted to cover these. These are direct results, basically, of industry advocacy. Nate, as you know, and as a lot of our listeners know, I go out to D.C. a couple times a year, and I work here in our congressional district with Congressman Rudy Yakum. And that's what I'm doing. You know, that's what me and a whole lot of other people do from across the country. We go out there and we try and explain to our members of the House and the Senate what their legislation that they're proposing is actually going to do to those of us with boots here on the ground. So I'm going to throw up a little image here. Bloop. There we go. And there's some typos in there. That's ChatGPT's fault, not mine. Not mine. It fails frequently, but it does its best. And we're very proud of you, ChatGPT, for the image that you've created, because I don't know how to do this stuff. So number one, we've got a permanent extension of lower individual tax rates. So not exactly individual tax rates affecting real estate, but obviously the more money we can keep in our pockets, the more money we're going to have for down payments, closing costs, all these other things that directly then does go back to real estate. Number 2, a permanent qualified business income tax deduction. So this is called Section 199A. And basically, again, for like small business owners, medium business owners, this is just a super crucial piece of legislation that people don't really know about. It's been there for a while. I think when I did the math, when I met with Congressman Yakum to talk about it, it was something like 85% of all real estate agents across the country can and do use this deduction. So some of us don't. I actually don't because of the way that I have kind of harnessed my savings vessels. But it's something that, every real estate agent should know about. It's available. And it's not just for real estate agents. It's obviously for business income and how you can deduct that from your personal taxes. So pretty big deal. Nate, I don't know if you have delved into any of that or if you have an accountant that you use for your taxes.
Yeah, we have an accountant that we use. I mean, I itemize everything, I guess. Like I just keep track of all my receipts and do my own books, I guess. And I pass it along to him and he does his magic from there. So.
Man, accountants are the best. Thank you, accountants. Yeah. We love you so much because
seriously.
I remember when I finally hired an accountant. I'd been doing real estate for about 4 or 5 years. I studied some tax accounting even when I was at Manchester College, now Manchester University. And when I turned it over to him and he's like, "Oh, so here's what you owe this year." And I was like, that can't possibly be right. Like he saved me so much money just by knowing about these kinds of things. So we love you CPAs. Keep rocking it out. Number 3, we've got a temporary quadrupling of the SALT cap. So that's SALT is state and local tax deductions. Basically, in the past, for the longest time, it's been $10,000 that can be deducted. That has been bumped up now for 5 years, quadrupled up to $40,000. So those of us that are in some of the states like Indiana, it's not going to be as big of a benefit to us because we don't have insane taxes. The New Yorkers, the Californians, they're going to reap a lot more benefit from this. I think a lot of us looked at this as kind of a handout, not a handout. I don't know the phrase I'm looking for, but basically a way to get the legislation through by some of the more fringe members. It's like, okay, so this doesn't help a lot of folks in what you would consider the red states, which obviously hold both houses right now. But it was kind of a concession, I guess, is
Yeah.
what more. It's like, hey, we're going to do some of these other things. We're going to keep taxes low. We're going to keep these deductions in here, but we're going to do this for you guys too. So the nice thing, number 4, is it does protect business SALT deductions and the 1031 like-kind exchanges. And Nate, I think we've talked about like-kind exchanges, 1031s a little bit before. One of these days we'll have to really go into some pretty deep detail about it, but it's basically a vessel where an investor can trade a house. So basically you're kicking the can down the road of your capital gains. Like, so you buy an investment property, you sell it within a certain amount of time, you can buy another one, and you don't have to pay the capital gains on that first one. You kind of keep kicking that down the road until eventually you sold your last one, and then you're going to have some gains on that last one. You're going to pay the taxes on that. But instead of having to pay a capital gains for every single investment property that you ever buy and sell, again, you kick it down the road. It's a really, really valuable thing. If you are investing in real estate and you don't know about this yet, call us. We can definitely help you through this. We'll have you talk to some of our experts on it. We are not experts, but we certainly understand the benefits of it, and we can help you get set up with how to do that and how to save yourself some taxes. And then number 5, a permanent extension of the mortgage interest deduction. To me, no brainer, right, Nate? I mean, I've got a mortgage, you've got a mortgage. Not being able to deduct the interest on that mortgage seems like a foolish thing, and why they were looking to get rid of that in the first place, it's past me. I really have no idea.
Yeah, it's a huge win for both homeowners and investors, especially with the 1031 exchange still being protected. This is going to keep capital flowing into housing. So yeah,
which, I mean, as we know, is just incredibly important for the average home buyer. That mortgage interest deduction continuing means more affordability. Less of that tax burden, obviously. Combine that with the higher SALT caps, and many families, especially in states with the higher property taxes, like we mentioned, they're going to feel some big time relief.
Yeah. There are also some less flashy provisions in the bill that deserve the spotlight too. So, for example, the low-income housing tax credit improvements were made permanent, which encourages affordable housing development. And then along with the child tax credit has been raised to $2,200, and it's indexed to inflation. So that could help families handle increasing housing costs.
Yeah, I love both of those. Obviously, this is always where my heart kind of goes when I'm, talking about proposed legislation and trying to bring it to Congressman Yakim's attention. It's always like, hey, man, like, wouldn't it be great if we helped those that need help the most? That's the part of me. I tend to be pretty conservative, but there's that, jerk of the head where I'm always like, man, let's bring everybody else along too. So yeah, I love, when we've got these low income housing tax credits. I think we can do more in that realm. I'd love to see us do more. We've talked about some legislation that's been proposed and has a hard time passing. The child tax credit being raised and indexed to inflation, again, a no-brainer. It's great that they finally got that done. Indexing things to inflation should probably be almost mandatory when we're talking about, tax credits. It just doesn't make any sense to be like, well, this is the number and we're just going to leave it there and hope inflation doesn't. I don't know. Inflation is always going to happen, right? It's even when it's low, it's there. So having that index is just a really smart thing to do. And then I don't want to forget about, the big money item here, but it does affect families. It affects plenty of families here in our area. The estate and gift tax threshold has been raised. It's been raised to $15 million. Nate, I don't know about you. Probably not going to get left $15 million.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, at the end of the day, this is money that families have made. It's multi-generational wealth. It belongs in the family. I've heard discussion that they wanted to, some portions of Congress wanted to make this a 90% tax. So if you're handing off money to your heirs, 90% is going to go to the government. That's just mind-boggling to me that we would expect every generation to have to start over like that. I think it's a wonderful thing when parents have been fiduciarily responsible to their kids and want to have that money to hand off to them. So I think that's a great thing. We've also had no changes to the carried interest rules. Investors know about that. They know what to expect in that regard as well.
Yeah. And one of my favorites is the opportunity zones are back. So with stronger incentives, even for rural communities, that could really help places like Elkhart County with development.
Yeah, that's a huge one too. We've got the USDA loans, which a lot of Elkhart County qualifies for. That's a zero down loan. And sometimes you can even get away without having any closing costs. So if you're out there and you have good credit and you're like, we just don't have the down payment, but you'd like to buy a home, that's something that we can help you with too. Talk to us about the USDA loans. The opportunity zones are also there to incentivize, like Nate mentioned, development. Let's bring some more business. Let's bring some more jobs in. We've got great jobs in this area, but can always use some more. So that's a big one too. So just going to do a little breakdown, I guess. If you're a buyer right now, what are you benefiting from this? Obviously, the interest deduction on your mortgage interest, the higher SALT cap can help you. It can help everybody. And then possibly a stronger housing supply in the long run. That's what a lot of this legislation should help with. If you're a seller, on the other hand, obviously the stability of some capital gains provisions, and then that 1031 exchange. If you're a multi-investor seller, making those plans ahead of time to utilize that 1031 is just a crucial way to avoid those capital gains as well. Like I mentioned, the investors also have their consistent rules. They know what to expect now. There's not been these big sudden changes. There's bonus depreciation, research and development incentives. So just a lot of good things that we've got coming down the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. Bottom line, whether you're buying, selling, inheriting, or investing, there's good news in this bill.
Yep. We don't have to love all parts of it. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and be like it's the most perfect bill of all time. The beauty of it is in the eye of the beholder, I believe. I don't know.
This is true.
And I would view it as like beautiful, but it does have a lot of wins in there. I think we all hate that it's adding, to the deficit. That was something that I know they really tried hard. Again, Congressman Yakum, I will give him a huge shout out here. He sits on the Ways and Means Committee in the House, and they were the kind of the ones that took the first, knife and fork to this thing. Were trying to carve off as much as they could. And they did. They basically cut the fat in half. And these are sleepless nights for these guys. Again, we all think Congress is just these well-to-do guys. I don't know what we all think, but I've seen enough that I know that they work, at least most of them work extremely hard. It's always the guys you don't hear about, right? They're not the guys on the news, the gals on the news. They're the ones that are actually in the boardrooms late at night and working on this. So thank you, Congressman Yakum. I know you were instrumental in making this as good of a bill as it could possibly be. And there's no question the real estate industry got to win here. This law supports not only affordability and accessibility for buyers, but also long-term stability in our housing market. There's a lot to play out here. I guess long-term, we also have to watch how the implementation actually rolls out here. And that's going to be one of the things that we're going to be covering as we continue to bring you the Realty Rundown.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to know how this new legislation impacts them.
Yep. And anytime, you guys, you can reach out to us with any questions. Nick knows I got your answers.
That's right. Thanks, guys.
See you next time.